Well, it's a standard hive
So is
box.
the queen excluder in between the two?
Right there.
Yeah. So we got an inch of separation,
Oh, just that.
and then you got queen excluder on either side, and then you got your vent for the lower hive and your entrance for your upper hive. And if you want to get fancy, you can put a porch on there, but it doesn't seem to bother the bees one way or another.
Now you have that where it'll spin so you can shut it?
Yeah, just when I move them, they're handy to shut.
Nice. That's clever.
And especially with the two queens, it seems like we end up moving those around. So when you start the hive with these boards, like I say, you got to have the excluder on both sides, 3/4 inch to an inch, a couple sheets of wafer works, a piece of 3/4 inch ply works, and then you just put your rim however deep you want it, 3/8 minimum, 3/4 maximum, or they'll start filling it in with propolis. So you just got that little rim on there, and you can roll this around and take all the pictures you want of it.
You just cut up an excluder for your openings?
Yeah, just take a plastic excluder and staple it down there.
Okay. Nice. Clever.
Oh, I'd like to say I came up with it, but I didn't. My kid actually, I'm not sure if he saw one of these or saw several other various two queen methods and came up with this, and so we tried it a couple of years ago. So when you're starting your hive, whether you're running mediums or deeps, normally if you start a medium hive, you'll start with 2 boxes per hive, right? But in this case, you're going to start with just a single box. And you're welcome to stand up and come up here and watch.
So are you starting with a medium then and not a deep?
Well, I run all mediums.
Okay.
But if you run deeps, 2 deeps is just fine too. I got that set up here. But when you first start your packages, if you're starting a package on mediums, you'll use 2 mediums. But since we're starting a 2 queen hive, we're just going to use 1 and then 1. Okay, so you're starting on baritone. So just like you normally would, you're going to take your package, you're going to pop your feed can out, slide your little board off after you pull your queen out. And when you put your queen in your pocket, always remember to put her that way so she doesn't get pinched between the screen and your shirt. Okay, and then you're going to dump, maybe about 1/3 of the bees in there. And then once you dump those in there, you're just going to set your frames back in. And the bees will be in a pile. Sometimes the frame will kind of sit on them. Just set it on them, and as the bees go down, it'll just slowly go down. Okay, and then once you got your frames in there, you're going to take your first queen. And just like a regular package, you always want to make sure the screen runs with the frame so that the bees can get to that queen and take care of her. You're going to pop your cork out, put your marshmallow in. And remember, queens don't sting, so you're going to watch her, and as she's coming back and forth, once she's to the end, you're going to pop your cork out. You're just going to put your finger over it. And if she tickles your finger, don't move your finger because $27 flies away. Then when she runs back, stuff your marshmallow in there. And then just like always, make sure you face the screen running with the frame so the bees can get to it. And then once you got your queen cage in there, I broke the top off this one. Go ahead and dump just a little bit more bees on top of her. Okay, then you're going to put your queen board on, and remember you got a vent, so you're going to have a small side. You don't have to put these little gates on there. You can just put an 1.5 inch gap and whatever gap you want to use.
But the gates look so techno.
They do look pretty fancy, but we quit using them because the bees just propolis them and they stick together. But they are kind of handy. Okay, so we got about half the package underneath, right? So we're going to put our next box on.
Does it matter what size package you're working with, 3 or 4 pound?
I always use a 4 pound for starting 2 queen hives because at 2 and 2, it's
a little better chance of going good. Okay.
So same thing. You're gonna pull some frames out of the middle, You're going to dump about half or better of what's left in there. And just keep your board over it when you're not using it. And then just gently put your frames back in one at a time. Like I say, even if they sit on the bee pile, they'll just kind of wiggle a little bit as the bees wiggle out of the way, and those frames will just drop right in. And then you're going to take your other queen. Again, pop the cork up, put your marshmallow in. You're going to stick your queen in between your frames. And these will have a little wire on them. Say I broke them all off. And just stick it down in there.
The little metal hanger.
Yeah. And if I bust the metal hanger off, I'll just cut a little thin piece of board and put it on with a tack, and that works just fine too. If the comb's drawn out, you can actually just stick in the comb. But most people are starting on
Bare foundation.
bare frames. Okay, and you're going to want a feeder in each box. And you want to fill your feeder ahead of time, put your feeder in the box.
So a frame feeder is what you use?
That's what I like to use. You can use an entrance feeder. Hive top feeder doesn't work on this system. For the bottom box, you'd need an in-hive feeder or an and then on the top you could use whichever kind of feeder you want, whether you want to use a hive top or an in-hive. And for you guys, we'll talk about the different feeders a little bit more in the class. So you got, go ahead and put your queen in there, shake the rest of your bees in, and then of course just drop your package in front of the hive. The bees will smell the pheromone, know where they need to go. Don't worry about all the bees flying around. They know what their queen smells like. And go ahead and put her in there and throw the lid on, and then like any other time you start a package, don't look at it, don't touch it, don't poke at it for 3 days. Leave them alone, let them get to know their queen, let them accept their queen. 3 days later, as quick as you can, pop the top off, make sure the queen got released. If she hasn't got released, go ahead and release her. I've never seen a queen not get released in 3 days, but it happens once in a great while. And then, if you can, just kind of slide that back far enough to pop the other queen cage out. You want to disturb them as little as possible. Same thing, make sure she's released.
Feed them some more.
After 3 days, they may or may not have ate it all, but yeah, go ahead and top the feeders off. And then, once you popped your queen cages out and made sure your queens got released, just like any other hive, you're not going to think about it, look at it, poke at it, touch it.
It's so hard. I want to
or
go poke
anything
in
else
there every day.
for 10 straight days. You're just going to ignore it. Because the more you poke in there, the better chance there is that they're not going to accept their queen. Okay, then after 10 days, just after that, once a week, start filling the feeders. After the first 10 days, I don't usually get into the hive the first 10 days. I'll just get in long enough to fill the feeders, make sure everybody looks okay. Once in a great while, you can tell you've lost your queen because they've all moved to one box or the other. And if there's no bees in one of the boxes, then go ahead and pull your board. It didn't work this year, go get your new queen, whichever one you want. So I'll fill it, after 20 days I'll go through and make sure I'm seeing eggs on the frames. And the biggest advantage to this is if you lose, we started 30 packages this way a few years ago and we ended up with about 50 at the end of the year. On occasion when you lose a queen, and sometimes the bees don't accept her, sometimes something happens to her, sometimes you accidentally squish her. But with this system, you can't find eggs in either one, and if you lost a queen, you just pull the board and life goes on.
Because they've been smelling the other queen
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, by now the bees accept both queens as their own, but the queens don't accept each other as their own.
That makes sense.
So the bees come and go out either one.
Yeah, they'll pretty much stick to one or the other, but they don't care.
And they can go through the excluder, but the queens
they can go
can't.
through the.
Oh, yeah.
They can migrate back and forth through the. So go through, check for brood, just like a regular hive. Once the wax is gone from that to that, and they got it drawn out. Once you're about 75% drawn out, then go ahead and give them each another box. And then when that's 75%, like I said, the biggest disadvantage is every time you got to get in this bottom box. you have to take the whole kit and caboodle off. And I try not to disturb the bottom box from the bottom board when I'm taking it in and out, because usually that's where the queen is and that's where you lose your queen. But you can just pop the whole thing off. And then what we do, the one year we did it, we had some of these, the honey production was incredible. We had some that were 8 and 9 boxes high.
All staff, princesses, and character.
So instead of dealing with
mingle for about 5 more minutes, and then we will meet you in the auditorium. Go get your picture taken with all those cute little princesses.
Sorry.
anybody want to get their picture taken.
With the princess.
So instead of running the whole season like that, then all we did was once the top and bottom boxes were completely drawn out good, then what we do now is we take that top hive and move it more than a mile away and let it sit for a few days, and then you can take it where you want after that.
So if you don't have the resources or the place to put it more than a mile away, can you plug the entrance? Will they reorient themselves enough to make it?
Bring it to my house.
You know, there's enough beekeepers around that'll let you stick a hive.
Okay.
If you just get on, are you guys all on that Facebook, Southeast Idaho Beekeepers? If you just get on there and say, hey, in Rigby, I need a place to put a hive for 3 or 4 days, there's always somebody that's going to say,
Okay,
oh,
cool.
come put it up here.
Yeah, Sandra just said I could take mine to hers.
So you just take it for a few days and then bring it back.
You can bring it back, and then they think they're 2 separate complete hives after 3 or 4 days.
Then you have
Cool.
2 short.
And then you have 2 short hives, which are a little easier to deal with. But again, with the 2 queen pheromones, I mean, if you don't mind dealing with manipulating the boxes, you will get more honey on the 2 queen system. It just takes a little more manipulation. We just run enough hives, we don't have time for it once it gets to that point. But what it does is you're starting with 1 package, and for $27 extra, you're turning it into 2 hives instead of 1. And like I say, it's, you know, sometimes if you lose a queen in a single queen hive, it's fairly catastrophic and you end up losing the whole hive. And so it's kind of $27 for insurance for your hive that you're going to end up with at least 1 at the end of the year. And it's pretty simple. Like I say, it does take some manipulating the boxes. But once they're drawn out good, if you want to split them and run them like regular hives, you can do that. Or if you only got a couple and don't care to move the boxes back and forth, you can just keep going that way.
And so this system they'll draw out comb faster and they'll brood faster?
Yeah, everything just seems to go better. You got 2 queens working, and so you end up with a lot more brood for your 4 pounds.
They are hard to work, though. I mean, you told them because if you put another box on top of that and then you have to
Sure,
lift all that off,
Yeah,
For a hive, yeah.
you have to lift it all off. And
it's
Have you ever tried the 3-way? There's like a hive here, and one in the middle that's queen
Yeah.
excluder, and you just build the honey up?
you know, we haven't tried that.
I'm trying it this summer. We'll see.
It could very well work. You know, again, the more the pheromones are, the better the honey production you're going to get. So, and like anything else, try it, see if it works for you or not. But